Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today we're at the 2022 AACA Grand Nationals in Virginia Beach. Beautiful weather, beautiful cars. It's a little bit hot, but that's what the pool beach is for. This video is going to be completion of interviews, various pieces of work, beautiful work I might add, and all around just a walk through I should say, of the show. This has been an awesome show. It's an awesome show. I'm glad I get to take part and be here. And yeah. So let's get right into the video.
I'm with the Moon Car Club and showing my 1925 Moon Series A Roadster. Moons were made in St. Louis from 1906 to 1930. They made between 60 and 80,000. This is a 1925, only one of two known to exist of the 25 model. I bought the car 10 years ago. It mainly was in the same family for most of its life. It's been in St. Louis all of its life. I started restoration of it 5 years ago with a friend of mine, and it took 4,500 hours to restore this car over 4.5 years. Just brought it to the junior in Auburn last July, the senior in Hershey, and now for the Grand Nationals in the Zenith Award. I love it not only because of restoring the car, but I have all the history. The original owner's son and daughter, who are in their 80s, I've been friends with them for the last 8 years, and they've seen me restore this car back to its former glory of when their father bought it in May of 1925.
What's your name again?
Okay. Yeah, my name's Dick Harding. This is a 1928 Auburn speedster. It was the first year that Auburn built speedsters. This was my father's car, and he found it in 1992. And he started the restoration of it, and I completed the restoration. My dad passed away in 2008, so it's just been finished last year. And we've competed at the Dayton Concours. We've just 2 months ago we were at Amelia. We won Best in Class, and of course we're here at the AACA and won runner-up for the Zenith. Our other car is a 1928 Auburn also. It's a small 8, and we were the first winners of the Zenith Award. So this is kind of our second show. The Auburn Speedster was, like I said, it's the first year for the Speedster, and it was meant to look fast. So all the features on the car are raked. The louvers, the windshield, the vent here, the doors, and the golf bag doors are all slanted to give the impression of speed. And it was well received and totally different from other cars of that era. The color on it is black and cat's eye green. It's original color for the car. This is the Big 8. They actually built two models in 28 and 29. They had the Big 8 and the Small 8. This is 5 inches longer than the Small 8. It's got a different engine, totally different running gear, and it's really a great running car. The car itself is basically a wood structure with the sheet metal nailed to the wood. This is the interior here. These are the golf bag doors. This is the boat tail rear end. The big 8 had different features than the small 8. They had chrome-plated fluted bumpers. The car had advanced mechanicals. It had hydraulic brakes. It had a one-shot brassiere system, which was a lubrication system that lubricated 29 points in the car. Once you got in the car, you would depress the pedal with your left foot a couple times, and it would lubricate your whole car. It was heavyweight oil. This is the lubrication system right here, the tank. And this tank over here was for the hydraulic fluid. The horsepower on this engine was 115 horsepower, and it could go close to 100 miles an hour. It was a fast car. They raced them a little bit, but it was Auburn is known for their speedsters. This car won last year, won the Best Auburn in Auburn, Indiana at our club, which is a couple hundred cars go. There's Auburn owned Cord and Duesenberg also. And they also owned the engine company, which was Lycoming. And so they own quite a bit of manufacturing. The wheels on this car was built by Dayton Wire Wheel in the 20s and was restored recently by Dayton Wire Wheel. They're still in business. So they do a great job on the restoration of the wheels. This has pilot ray lights here, and these lights turn with the wheels, which modern cars do now, but it's all electronic. This was mechanical. So
7 years ago, we decided that AACA needed an additional award structure which would recognize restored vehicles done to factory stock specifications in the same way that the Riddler Award and the LA Roadster Show Award represents the finest in modified vehicles. And both of those awards extremely well known and gave a lot of well-deserved credit to a lot of vehicles that had won that award, but there was no similar award in the restored car hobby. You had various Concours awards, Pebble Beach Best of Show, or Amelia Island Best of Show, but those shows don't have the depth and variety that AACA has. AACA, we have everything from Volkswagens to Duesenbergs and everything in between, and the restorations for those vehicles are sometimes very intricate, very difficult, particularly rare cars like at this particular show that we're at now, a 1929 DuPont. Extremely difficult restoration, was done exceedingly well. All of the cars that are considered for Zenith are, generally speaking, on a 400-point scale within AACA. They're 395 plus point cars. We don't divulge scores, but these are all high scoring cars. And we choose 2 cars from every AACA national meet throughout the year. And then the following year, those cars are invited to come to the AACA Grand National, and they compete against one another for the finest restoration of the year. And several things come into play. AACA's standard 400-point judging system is just that. It's very specific in very specific categories. These cars are also good that there is just very little difference between any of them in terms of the quality of the car, in terms of points. However, in order to determine which car is the finest restoration of the year, we look at other areas that we don't ordinarily look at in AACA. So it is an interesting blend of judging. It's a blend of point judging and concours style judging, where we take into account more subjective things such as the presentation of the car, the colors of the car, and we also look at difficulty of restoration as well. This year, for instance, the DuPont, the top cars in the Zenith competition this year are all very, very, very close together. But a subjective item such as difficulty of restoration may have made the difference to the team for the DuPont, which required a lot of research because there's not a lot of information on DuPont. Where there are perhaps in certain other areas, in libraries and mark clubs, there exist blueprints and assembly manuals and other things. So we took that into account. Difficulty of restoration, if the vehicle was a basket case or it was a pile when someone started with it, we take into account that they took the time, effort, and exercise the expertise to bring that vehicle back to its condition as it was when it left the factory. So the Zenith is a very, very special award. There are numerous high-end awards throughout the collector car world, most specifically when it pertains to stock vehicles. Concours awards are very highly regarded. But again, AACA, we have a wide and diverse field of cars to show, and anybody has the potential to win the Zenith Award. A couple of years ago, a 1958 Buick Caballero station wagon won the award just simply based on the difficulty of restoration. The parts were hard to come by, pieces had to be fabricated, and the owner did the majority of the work himself. So all these little things take 1 degree of separation between cars that are very much equal in terms of our point system. And we're able to make a very difficult judgment call and determine which one is in fact the restoration of the year.
We got this car in 2012 because we had another car, but it was a Nash Healy, and we weren't driving it to as much as we wanted to drive. So this was we got this so we would have more of a driving car, and it had a blown engine, and the interior was shot, and it was original, but it didn't look too bad the rest of the car. So I didn't want a restoration project which was all paint and body work. Mechanical work I didn't mind. Well, as we got into it more and more, it kept needing more and more. The engine, the engine compartment needed detailed, and the interior evolved into a headliner and everything else, and then trunk restoration, and then mechanically, what I thought was going to be solid because it had been a driving car, it turned out it needed everything mechanical too. So my winter project turned into a year and a half, and that got it on the road in 2014. And I lived close to Hershey, so I took it to Hershey. I never had any thoughts about showing it, but I took it to Hershey, and it actually did all right there. It got a first junior, and then that set me on a a big quest of fixing other things and getting other things ready, so till it is where it is today. And so I just did a lot of things since it first got on the road. There was the grills got re-chromed, the headlights got re-chromed, I replaced some different glasses that I was going to live with. I had some other paint work done that I was going to live with, so it came around to now it's competing for a senior Grand National. But win or lose, whether it gets it or not, I'm going to go back to driving it. So that's about all I can say.
I'm Bill Thummel. This is my Lola T70, and we raced it a number of years until we realized it was magnesium and could fall apart at any time, so we parked it and brought out another one. So anyway, this one was George Fulmer and Mark Donahue's car. This is number 16, which was Fulmer's number, and Donahue's was 6. So we've raced it at a number of places and had a lot of fun with it. We had to completely rebuild it, the chassis, and painted it and perfected it by being on the track a number of times. So it's a fun car to drive. It's really difficult on the street. The clutch is a little wild. So anyway, we've had a lot of fun with it.
Hi, I'm Doug, and we've been doing the 40 and 41 Buicks. Oh, it seems like forever, but I started back in 1970, and started with a 140 Buick Century Fayette and a 4-door convertible sedan that I picked up out of a junkyard. And as I came out of the junkyard, I got it running. Then we did the body and paint and the top and the interior. Got it safe for the street. Did that in about 6 to 8 months, and that car's been on the road ever since. With that, we're trying to build the interest in the 40 and 41 Buicks, and have toured the country in that car. That car right now is just tipped over 247,000 miles from all the tours and the shows and stuff that's done throughout our country, and we're very fortunate and happy that we can do this for the automobile antique industry. I mean, we just love doing this stuff, and we don't have enough time to do enough of it. So we're trying to build more Buicks out there, get the people to know them, see the integrity of the automobiles, the design, beauty of the interiors, the exteriors, and the way the cars were built with good, solid engine and mechanical devices that they put together that there is hard to beat, simply said. Now, we have built the engines in our shop, and now that we have been building the engines, we have gone into racing the engines for the straight 8 Buicks, and we now build specialty cams for the engines for full race and 3/4 race. We also build the transmissions, the rear ends, and the entire cars and the like. But the main thing for the performance aspect of it, we were able to build the engines to do what most of the antique cars were not able to do, which is go up the Rocky Mountains 600 miles in 3rd gear, never taking it out, and doing 60 miles an hour all the time. So it was nice to have a situation like that, and we also work with the fellows at Bonneville Salt Flats on the straight 8 Buicks that they turned 182 miles an hour in their travel and speed runs out there. And then getting back to how this thing began, as a kid, grew up in a neighborhood that we didn't have playgrounds in, so I went to work and played in the junkyards at the ages of 5, 6, 7, and we jumped in the cars, and I'd always pretend driving, appreciated the dashboards that I looked at, especially the 40 and 41 Buicks, because they had engine turn dash panels in them, and it was so nice to have the engine turn dash panels in their sort of Florentine jewelry approach to cosmetics on the car. It added so much to the wood grain dashes and the gauges and the instrumentation. I never forgot it. When I was 20, I bought my first 40 Buick, did that one, and everybody came out and said, "Well, we love your dashboards. Can you help us do our dashboards for our Buicks?" So I said, "Sure, bring them over." Well, they not only brought the dashboard, but they brought the whole car. Well, I said, "I'm just doing the dashboards," but they says, "Oh, please, can you help us do the car?" One thing led to another. I started doing one car, then we had to move to another facility and do 2 cars at a time. Then we're now up to about 15 cars at a time, and it just kept going and going. So we enjoy working with the folks. They're wonderful people out there that own all the antique cars, and Buicks and prime respect a lot of our business, but we have a good time with the folks in any genre of car. It's nice to have Rolls Royces. We do Duesenbergs, Packards, Cadillacs. We do a lot of Woodies, which this is one over here that we just did not too long ago, and one of the first ones we did, which is a 40 Buick Super Woody Wagon. No. And on this, the wood on it is all mahogany and ash, and with that, all these pieces have to be made individually, and then as you go, you can see the interior. And the ceiling is really a neat feature on the car too. And the doors all mahogany on the inside, and we have to make the steering wheels for them and all the plastics and everything else. And it just got to the point where we have to build a lot of the components with the tooling that becomes special for the particular cars that we're working on. But the 41 Roadmaster convertible coupe has been in our stalls for about the last 2 years, and we tried to do the cars up the way they were from the factory. Again, the engine turn dash panels, the red leather comes from the original rolls that were from Plumber Leather that made the original leather for GM back in the 30s and the 40s. And when they were going out of business in the 80s, I contacted them, and they were nice enough to allow me to purchase the rolls, and then now we make our own leather up for the 40 and 41 Buicks, or some of the other years' Buicks too. But there's so many details on the Buicks that often get overlooked, like the flippers for the windows. When you roll the window down, you got a gap here, and this thing covers the gap all the way across. You can see it on the other side, but we'll take you over there in a bit. Then the engines, they had compound carbs the first time ever in 1941. It's the forerunner of the 4-barrel, and this is a little bit of an insight into how the setup was. They had the front carb was your driving carb, and the rear carb was your dumper. So anytime you want to go faster, you're doing 35, 45, you push the pedal to the metal, and that rear carb dumped the gas in, and this thing took off like a rabbit. Then the way the rest of the components are put together, we have to build the engines from scratch, and we put nice performance pistons and cams, and compression ratios are varied up as high as we can go, and keep them on the street, mind you. But we do, again, pull some really high numbers on these things. Then the grills, we have to come up with, like, these are special fog lights that were made only for 41 Buicks. And when they did these, you can see they have the amber color on top and bottom and clear in the middle. So they were driving fog lights. And they were only made in a rectangular fashion, or oval fashion, if you will. And they were only made for Buick, and that's the way Buick ran the stuff. Very few of these were made, and so trying to find them today is very difficult. So it's nice when you can see a set, and you can use them on your cars, and it makes the car look a bit more unique, if you will. The parking light lenses were made, they start using plastic back then, and we have a diffuser in there, so we have to make all this new, and then put all the new guts in it and everything else to give you the correct parking light setup, so you have a nice fit for the lens, and then the diffuser in the middle spreads the light out as the bulb behind it diffuses its emittance of the light. And the flipper, that's this right here, comes up, and then when the window goes down, it covers that, so it looks nice and uniform with chrome all the way across the top. And then a good shot of the dash from here. You can see the engine turning a lot better from this side. The engine turn are rows and rows of dots put in. There's got to be 1,000 dots on each panel, and you put them in all by hand in sequential form, and then you have to finish out with special plating on the outside, and then seal it all in with special material we put on top of it. And then the same thing with the gauges. We have to reproduce all the plastics for the gauges and the like. So it's a lot of fun doing it. Not easy doing it, but and it's also a joy to see the tops come back. We have to make the patterns for the tops, and then we put the binding on the tops where the original type material they used. And again, all the plastics on the knobs and all the inserts on the knobs we have to make up and stuff like that. So as things go, we try to develop the cars out so they're in full scope of what was originally on that car in 1940 or 41, where the car year is. And this is another nice 41 here. This is a 4-door convertible sedan, same model Roadmaster, I'm sorry, Super. And this is, they made them in Super and Roadmasters, and this is giving an idea what a 4-door convertible sedan is versus a 2-door convertible coupe. And they did the same thing in 40, and side comment to that, I know a lot of folks like Cadillacs, but it was interesting that Buick outsold Cadillac each year 8-1. So the folks that enjoy the Cadillacs, my hats are off to them. They're wonderful cars. Just that if they want to race, call me. I think they'll be both bit surprised. Because we have a quarter-mile setup, and it's very interesting what we do with a quarter-mile with the old straight-8 Buicks. Okay. Over here we have another 40 Buick, and looks like another Super convertible coupe. Same color as the 4-door sedan. Nice car, and it's got a tan top versus the dark blue top on the 4-door. But again, you can see the differences, and you can see the different fog lights they run on that, or driving lights, depends on what the color of the lens is. So, but yeah, as time goes on, we've tried to develop the cars out and give us all the best approach to building the best product that Buick put out there 80-some years ago, and we're just trying to make it as good as, if not better than, they did back then. It's quite a chore, but it's a lot of labor of love. and we enjoy doing it. We hope to continue to do it for many, many centuries. So bear with us and have fun. If you need us, call us. Okay.